Hello and welcome to the Nano Film Improv podcast. I'm Dave Heron. This podcast is about my trials and tribulations associated with improv comedy and doing it, performing it, rehearsing it. So this is really a cathartic outpouring of the things that I've learned, the things that I'm struggling with, and an opportunity to share with you and hear from you also some of the things that have worked for you, and equally there'll be some things on this podcast that you have tried that don't work for you. It's all very subjective. My experience level is, well, I've had a few years experience doing improv. I've taught a bit of improv. I've performed with a whole range of exciting and talented improvisers and learnt from sets that have gone well and sets that haven't gone well. And this is all part of an evolution for me as well. So you're very welcome in joining me on this podcast. So this week marks the 26th episode of the Nano Film Improv Comedy Podcast, which means I've been doing this for 1 year. That in itself is a testament to my perseverance, or indeed a reflection of the number of thoughts on improv and areas to improve on that I have. But first and foremost, beyond that, I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and comments. Things that you have also found quite difficult, but also some tricks and tips that you've shared as well to help me along my comedy journey. So given that it's the end of the year, I wanted to use this episode to think about some of the things that I set out earlier on in the year that I wanted to improve upon, but also some of the things that had gone quite well, and a little bit of a thank you along the way as well. So one of the main things that I've discovered this year is how to have a good old belly laugh with improv. So I've talked before about the two primary groups that I'm involved with. That's We Are Dave, the 2Prov or 3Prov group that I have with Emily Joy and Lewis Hill, but also the other group, Slapbot, which is with myself, Stuart Finlayson, George Butcher, Ed Pithy, and Martin Connaughton, where we have essentially just had a lot of fun. Now, this differs from the good, solid improv sets that we commonly find in gigs, which is no detriment to them whatsoever. In fact, actually very enjoyable scenes. But this is where I've talked before about really pushing the boundary and exploring comedy, that second bit of improv comedy, and really pushing the boundaries on that. And I just wanted to say I've really enjoyed having a lot of fun there. I've left rehearsals on a weekday evening with a headache because I've laughed so hard and discovered that actually improv really is, for me, about breaking some of those rules, really challenging each other, really trying to make each other corpse on stage as well. Because I think if you're having fun, the audience is equally having fun as well. So that has been a real highlight for me this year, exploring and unearthing that you can do good comedy that you find really funny yourself on stage and really pushing the boundaries with that. So that's been a real highlight for me this year. And I've also seen this seeping into the other group that I'm part of as well, Gamez, the Hoopla short form improv comedy team, where we had a gig earlier on this year and we pushed ourselves really hard to understand what were the aspects that were funny within each of those short form improv games. And one of the games that we did at a gig was Love Letters, where you have two pairs of people, each of them doing one word at a time and sending love letters back and forth to each other. We made that game really quick and pacey, so much so that we corpsed on stage and the audience thoroughly enjoyed it as well, because they knew that we were challenging each other on stage as well and overcoming those challenges. And that has been a real eye-opener this year through Slapbot, We Are Dave and Gamez. The other thing I wanted to set out this year was to develop my range of characters instead of just using my stock three characters, my posh lady, my potato character, my small goblin character, for those that don't know, and also just myself. So expanding those three characters into other characters. And I feel that actually I have managed to do that. I've experimented with accents, I've experimented with physical representation, holding those poses as well. So I feel that those have developed a lot this year, but also being on stage with other people who've also been developing their characters as well and thoroughly enjoying sharing the stage with them where they commit to character shapes, voices. So much so that recently at a We Are Dave 3prov gig, where three of us were performing on stage together, I challenged Emily Joy with one of her accents. She doesn't normally do accents, but she tried one out this time, and I was very, very assertive, probably aggressive, in ascertaining where exactly that accent was from. And that was a wonderful example of other people trying out new characters, trying out new things themselves, whilst I was also trying out a new character, new character shape, accent, but also doing that challenging, really trying to make each other corpse and also trying to make the audience laugh as well. So that was a great combination of enhancing characters, but combining that with the funniness of improv comedy scenes too. So that continues to be a work in progress for me. But having set myself that challenge earlier on in this year, I feel good that I've been working on that, thinking a lot about that, and thinking about how that can combine with positions on stage as well. The other thing that I've particularly benefited from this year is my focus on musical and hip hop improv as well, specifically with John Meisler and Lewis Hill, respectively, for musical and hip hop. And having done a few classes with them both, that has really helped push my confidence with singing. Now, I have to say to the listener that I am not an expert musical improviser, but what I am is confident now in just finding a line that can be repeated and giving my all, a bit like a sort of musical theatre number, really, and realizing that actually it's confidence rather than necessarily musical aptitude that will help a musical improv scene. Equally, I found myself from a hip hop improv perspective really challenging myself, working on some of these things at home with my family and practicing them, and then also having the opportunity to perform small little sets or rehearsals with Lewis and other people as well. And I know that as I go into next year, there's a course that I've signed up for with Dingbat, so I'm very much looking forward to taking that to the next level. That's all with the idea of exercising another improv muscle in my brain, but also thinking about, is there an opportunity at any stage in short form or indeed long form improv where I could possibly introduce musical and or hip hop improv, and just having that confidence to do so when the need arises. So I'm really looking forward to that, and have really greatly benefited from those opportunities that have taken place this year. Those have meant that I've had gigs where I've been able to perform either at Hoopla with Gamez or at Dingbats with a number of other people as part of a workshop/course end of show performance. Really grateful for those and very much looking forward to getting involved more next year. And finally, the thing that I've most enjoyed this year is meeting new people. Of course, there was the Dingbats retreat earlier on this year where I met some wonderful people. Of particular note was Jules, who I know works down at Farnham with some of the improvisers down there as well. Very much looking forward to coming and experiencing a workshop run by Jules at some point in 2025, where I could get to see other people's insights and other things that they've learned and how they've interpreted it. So looking forward to joining those guys in 2025. But also there were other wonderful people that I met from Tunbridge who came to the retreat as well. That was just such a fantastic experience to meet new people who were also equally excited about improv as I was as well. New people have come along to the Dingbats courses and shared their enthusiasm and had a lot of fun as well. And it's just been a wonderful shared experience. I've also deepened the relationships that I've had with my friends in Slapbot, as well as Lewis and Emily as part of We Are Dave as well. So it's been a real wonderful shared and deepening friendship experience that I've had this year that I really hope to take into next year with more people, either new faces or just deepening my relationship with other improvisers who I already know. That has been a massive, massive highlight for me as well. Obviously, there are people I've met out elsewhere as well, certainly up in Hoopla in London. people where I've hosted or compared the gigs have done wonderful sets. I've really enjoyed seeing those sets, making new friends there as well. And of course, then every time I go and see them perform again, we know each other. And that's just a nice thing because it's a lovely, positive community spirit that we all know and love. So those are the things that I've reflected on this year that I think have gone well, certainly in some instances, areas where there is more work to be done, but I feel like there is some progress. I feel like that having spoken to a lot of people who've had similar experiences as well, there are different things to try out. So thank you for those who have listened, downloaded, and shared your thoughts. Thank you for sharing those thoughts because they've helped me drive forward in some of the improv bits and pieces that I want to get better at as I go into next year. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast throughout 2024, and I'm very much looking forward to making more in 2025 as well. If you've got anything that you want to talk about or share with me, please let me know and I'll talk about it on the podcast going forward. So thanks very much for listening to the Nano Film Improv podcast, and I'll catch you in the next one.